Today we're going to learn about phones. What does the Torah say about phones? Phones in Shul, phones while learning. In general, the idea with phones. Are they a good thing? Are they a bad thing? What's the story over here? This actually comes up because Rav Zilberstein and Halinu L'Shabeach and the pasuk Kol Ha'am Bara Lam Beis Yadayim in this week's parsha starts talks about a voice. So first, I'm just going to present the summary of that I did from a tremendous amount of research. And then if we have more time, we could go through some of the sources inside that we have over here. Got a lot of Svarim opened up, a lot of sources. So we'll see what time allows. Let's break it down into a few different topics. Talk about phones during davening. Talk about phones during learning. Talk about the good that could be used with phones. And the important and relevant Shilah, is it permissible to use a phone as a siddur, to daven from a phone? Oh. And then we have to discuss a little bit miscellaneous, we'll call it walkie-talkies, in particular with Hatzala, and some of the relevant topics that could come up over there. Lena Shabeach says, this is not a surpriser. Phones ringing during davening are a major issue that have came up and continue to come up, unfortunately. There was once upon a time when if a phone rang in the middle of shul, people would come very upset. Very, very upset. Now people are just like used to it. It's just another day, so to say. That's a problem. We become desensitized. That's the word. Phones are meant to make our lives easier and help us get more connected, so to say. I'm not even talking about landline phones because those are becoming, every single day, they're more and more obsolete. So when we say phones, we mean cell phones. And the cell phones nowadays are a full computer in the palm of a person's hand, as we know, what they're capable of doing. They're supposed to connect us. However, in many ways, they've evolved into tools which ruin people's lives. In many, many ways. In fact, there's a lawsuit going on right now with Facebook and TikTok and some of these other platforms where a woman became very depressed and had suicidal thoughts because she was just obsessed with this technology. And lawsuit talks about how she was addicted. This is a regular lawsuit, nothing to do with Jewish or not. It's a problem that people, they're just addicted to their phones. They can't get off of it. They can't stop watching all this filth. And it's a big issue because, just pause and stop for a minute, that it used to be 30, 40 years ago, you go out, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the streets, the parks, they're packed. People are playing, people are moving around, people are socializing. Nowadays, you don't see that anymore because people are just on their screens, and that's not healthy. Socially, physically, mentally, all of the lees, all of the important lees. And that's really the essence of this lawsuit, which I didn't look into tremendously, but I'm aware that it exists. And there are probably many other ones, but apparently this is a big one. There's an English term for it because the outcome of this lawsuit is determined will affect many other lawsuits that will come up. There's an English name for it. I forgot the name for it. One of those companies that I quoted, or maybe another one, just settled it by paying them off to keep their mouth shut. But some of the other ones are trying to fight it. The point of the matter is this is an issue, but that's not really our topic today, necessarily. What our topic today is going to be talking about in Shuls, where we daven, where we're supposed to connect to Hashem, and when we learn Torah. Now, the phone, by definition, is supposed to connect us. But the truth of the matter is it could cause a tremendous disconnect. It could disconnect us from Hashem. We're supposed to get connected by going to Shul. When we bring the phones, many times it disconnects us. Not only us we have to consider, but we also have to consider what's called chav la'achrini, that now we're going to cause others to have issues davening as well. We're going to cause others to get disconnected. It's almost contagious. It's like a COVID-19. It's not good. And therefore, Aveira Goreres Aveira, as we know from the fourth parak of Pirkei Avos, that one sin causes and leads to another sin, and it prevents people from concentrating properly on their davening, and they're not able to pray properly, they're not able to learn properly, and it's a major issue. So this is basically, in short, of what davening l'shabeach is, and one of his points. Again, we're breaking it down into categories. Now, we have to realize that even if someone doesn't receive a message, a lot of times he's looking, or it's in the back of his mind because he's anticipating a message that's going to come in. I remember, in fact, yesterday, I'm not going to say where, I davened at a certain place, doesn't matter why, I'm really never there, I've only been there once, last year for the Megillah. And they messed up. After the davening, they went straight to Aleinu. Some people tried yelling, they didn't hear, whatever, they went straight to Aleinu. Now, of course, we know the halacha is from Siman Taf Reish Shadi Gimel that you're supposed to do Vata Kadosh, Kadosh, Baruch Kavod, etc., like we do Motzei Shabbos. Yeah, Mar. And then you do Kaddish, either a full Kaddish or you do a Kaddish Yosem. You do a Kaddish, though. The Chazan says it, no matter what. Machlokes over there. So I texted basically someone who's upper in the minyan to remind him. I think it was around 3 in the afternoon. He didn't text me back till 1:30 in the morning last night. Wow. So the entire day, I sent him a nice text. It was around 100 words saying, I know you messed up. I just had it in my mind coming up to Purim. I thought about it, and I don't want the whole congregation to mess up, so I'm just sending you a text. So he said, thank you so much at 1:30 in the morning. So the entire day, I was kind of thinking, did he get the text? Did he not? I want to make sure he gets it before. It was on my mind. Now, a lot of people, they have multiple text messages going. For me, I'm obviously not a businessman, but I have a lot of chavrusas, and a lot of times we're texting to arrange meeting timing, if there's cancellations, etc. And it's in the back of my mind, these texts. So now if a person's going to unleash his wrath with his text messaging, and he's going to do it right before he davens, so now he's expecting all the text to come in, it's on his mind. And even if he's not expecting it, maybe he'll say, maybe someone's going to text me that it's important. Maybe someone's going to contact me. Maybe someone's going to email me, which we know now all the phones have. So that's something to consider as well, that to detract from one's intent. So you'll say, leave it in the car. There's nothing wrong with leaving it in the car. The problem becomes if you have a Tesla and the phone is your key and you leave it in your car. So now, someone could kind of break in your car, turn on your phone, and then maybe take away, but they probably won't because it can be tracked anyway. So you could probably leave it in your car. Then you just need to use the key thing, the key card, manual key card. Mm-hmm. Right? It's annoying, but you could do it. It's annoying to shut your phone off every single time. Also, use the manual key card. It's annoying to shut it off every single time and then turn it back on. Okay, or you could use the key fob. It's annoying to do that, to have to shut off, and you can't leave it on because then your car is still on. You can't leave it in there. So that already is, that's why nowadays they have a beautiful thing in a lot of these shuls. They have like these cubbies. You put it in, there's a key, and you could charge it also, your phone. Put it in one of the cubbies. I noticed that a lot of times the shuls that have it are kind of in the middle, meaning there's those shuls, they know that there's a phone issue, and they're aware of it, and they're ready to work on it, but they're not perfect. Usually the types of shuls that have it, not necessarily always true. The shuls that don't have any phone issues, they don't even need those. The shuls who do have phone issues and they just don't care, they don't even have those either. So it's kind of in the middle. You could do that. You figure it out. You get a locker, another locker. You figure it out. It's not an issue. Most people don't have those cars anyway, so it's not a problem. But the point is, you leave it in, or you silence it, or you just turn it off when you go in shul. Silence. That's my minhag. Usually I always keep my phone on vibrate. I don't get so many phone calls and texts. I usually keep it on vibrate. The problem with the vibrate is, and it's also the problem with silence, is that it could vibrate in the middle of shemoneh esray, and then you're thinking in the back of your head, who's calling me? What's going on? And then you look at it after. So looking at it is also already a distraction. So that's another problem that we have to talk about over here. And that's something to consider. Another issue, it just happened last week with this blizzard. So they said there was a ban over here in Far Rockaway. After 9 o'clock, you have to stay off the street until 11 in the morning, right? Something like that. Something like that, right? So guess what? I went to the 8 o'clock Marv over here, and you hear it during the it's the emergency thing coming from the city to warn people to get off of the streets. So even if your phone was on silent, it didn't help because it was an emergency text and it was beeping, and the whole davening around 7 phones went off.
That doesn't happen a lot.
It doesn't happen often. I'm just talking about a case that is relevant in a time of year when there's an emergency or something like that. Hurricane time, maybe a time when there's a lot of snow. That's something else to put into consideration over here. The point is, you bring a phone in, people around you are disconnected just by hearing the phone sound. When you hear a vibrate, already it gets your mind out of davening. And this sound prevents people from concentrating on what they're supposed to be doing. All right, so this is something to consider. Now, when we daven, we have to map this actually from the Kedushas Levi. This idea is quoted, I saw in the, just to say some of the source over here. You have the Alinu L'Shabeach, you have the Shilos Veteshuvos Mishnas Yosef in Chelik Dalet, Simin Dalet. You have the Koybeitz Mebeis Alevi over here in Chelik Yud Beis on page Kuf Mem Hey, and he goes for another 10 pages. You have a Shilos Veteshuvos Lehoros Nason over here in Chelik Yud Aleph and Simin Tes. All of these sources. So if you look in the Mishnas Yosef, by Yosef Lieberman, he quotes towards the end of the Tshuva, Kedushas Levi. When we daven, we have to imagine as if we're in an upper world. And that's why we put our feet together. He has a tremendous amount of length about this. When we daven, once our feet are together, it's angelic. We're like an angel. There's no phones up there. So turn the phone off. This is why leaving the phone on vibrate is a problem. Checking a text is also distracting and disturbs one concentrations. This is why it's a good idea for Shuls to hang up signs. Turn your phone off or silence it before, because the signs remind people not to do it. The Gemara and Shulchan Aruch say that you need to daven with a certain seriousness. In Simon Sadi Gimel Beis, it's a Gemara and Brachos we quoted in the past. You have to daven with the seriousness. Koyved Rosh. So the Shilos Veteshuvos Lehoros Nason that we just quoted said, even though this halacha is only by shemoneh esray, nevertheless, it's obvious that during other parts of davening, there's an obligation to prevent potential disturbances to one's davening. Pasuk the Zimra, everything. Supplies the whole davening should be with the serious mindset. Also, Levi talks about the Rav Harfenes says, and this is a very good point. If you look in the Vayevarech David, the one that he has on Tefillah, in the Chelek Aleph. So yeah, so in his all of his farm are very there are a lot of them. So he has a kuntris on covered base in Medrash, and in there he talks about phones. He has many pages he talks about phones. A lot of these ideas are repetitious after you learn all the sources that I just quoted, but he has a few ideas which are certainly not repetitious and which others don't discuss. One of those points is, he says you should rebuke your friend or someone when you hear them using a phone, or when you see someone talking on the phone in the middle of davening. This would be no worse than someone who is talking in the middle of Chazaras Hashatz, in which case you should rebuke him. You should try to hint him if he's not working. You should just flat out talk to him and give him rebuke and tell him not to do it. So if someone answers his phone in the middle of davening, it's foolish. It's if he's saying the person on the other line is more powerful than Hashem and is more important, right, than his sincere tefillos, his prayers that he's doing. So anyways, so this is something to talk about over here, about he's davening for himself. Now, let's talk about learning. Sometimes the people come to shiurim, chavrusas, and every few minutes a different tune's beginning to play. I know sometimes you could have the chavrusas and the guy's checking his phone every 4 minutes, or he's texting someone in the middle. People don't talk about this. This is just my personal opinion, which I think is very valid, which is, it is so rude when someone's talking You're talking to someone else, another person's on the phone. Oh, keep talking, I'm listening. And sometimes it can happen for minutes and everything. It's just so rude. A person, the mind could only properly be involved with one thing at a time. And when you're talking to someone, listening to someone, you have to give them undivided attention. It's a big problem nowadays that's going on over here. It's so rude. And a lot of times these people, sometimes you see people, they put the phone right next to the Gemara when they're learning. Right next to it. Right? It's as if it's like a tool for understanding the Gemara. Now, it's one thing I wanted to talk about this. It's one thing if a person does use his phone for Torah. For example, me personally, as everyone knows, my computer is a tool. It's a tool for Torah. My phone also, sometimes you research certain things, you could do translations, you could do a lot for looking things up. It's a search engine, whatever, in addition to the Otzar Chachma. But we're going to come back to that topic. They have no problem of picking it up when they're in front of everyone. It not only takes away from their learning, but it disturbs others. Right? People who are coming cell phone free to the shir, beg others many times to turn off their phone. However, in a short time, the cell phone makes itself known. It starts ringing. It's disrespectful. He talks about how one time there was a court case and a phone rang, and the lawyer who was defending someone, he got fined like $150 or something like that. Contempt of court. So in a court, if you're getting fined, then all the more so in the court in heaven. That's the main court. And where a base medrash, a shul, to be careful. Instead of giving people peace of mind, which is what technological advancements are supposed to do, including the phone, these cell phones and other communication devices have managed to make people more stressed than ever. And like many people have already told me, it used to be that you work, you come home, and you're done. Nowadays, you work, you come home, and you bring your work home with you, and you're expected to respond at all hours. So obviously, a person, this is another discussion of itself, has to maintain his proper atmosphere that he needs and have proper belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It will most probably not make a difference if you're going to respond right now, that second, at 11 o'clock at night, or if you're just going to respond the next day. Most times, it makes no difference. Hashem is in control, and a person's sustenance is already decreed from Rosh Hashanah, his parnasa, as we know from the second parak and bay in the beginning. So this is also something to think about, but that's another discussion in and of itself. The best kollels, by the way, they don't allow phones in because it's straight up bittul Torah. Now, again, this depends on the case and scenario and how you're using your phone. Some people, they do use their phone as tools to help learning, but we're talking about the people who are using the phone, wasting time with other things on the phone that are not Torah related. That's what we're talking about over here. Proper Torah learning, as we discussed in Sefer Yeshua Parakal Pasuk Ches, many recordings over there, we broke that down about Torah. We discussed the importance of Shilos Veteshuvos, learning without interruptions. The Chazon Ish says that learning for a little and interrupting is like planting seeds and just flooding the area where you planted the seeds. And there's a lot to elaborate on this. And therefore, this is one of the reasons why we don't say God bless you after someone sneezes. Because even those few words is considered an interruption in Torah learning. It's bittul Torah. Someone who brings his phone with him in the base medrash isn't running away from his burdens to the base medrash. Rather, he's bringing his burdens with him into the base medrash. You understand the difference? This is going to disturb him and others. Someone who learns Torah properly needs a tremendous amount of focus and can't divert his mind to anything else. Someone who's answering his phone leaves the base medrash, that diverts his mind. That messes up his continual Torah learning, the Shilos Veteshuvos. Additionally, when you're in a base medrash, others see you leave, and you're on your phone. When you're leaving, that disturbs the entire atmosphere in the base medrash. This especially applies to people who are being paid to learn Torah. Most people who are supporting such activity in the Torah learning would not be happy with this behavior. And therefore, the money that they get could even be considered stolen. That is something to discuss mentioned last week, there was a guy in the base medrash. I was the only one there. He was talking on the phone loud. I turned over to him and I said, "What are you doing? It's a base medrash." He got upset. He left. An hour and a half later, he came back, apologized to me. That's what it is. It's true. There are very few places that we have to learn Torah and daven properly, connect to Hashem, and everywhere else in the world you could go. These are the few places which are complete holy areas, and there's a certain ambiance and decor, so to say, of the where you're learning and davening. That's what it comes to. So this is something to discuss. Phones, they could be used for a lot of good, and technology in general. It could be used for good and it could be bad. Just like many things in this world. Fire could be used to destroy, it could be used to cook, to build. There are some people who know how to put their technological advances to good use. In many ways, phones and technology could be used for good in many, many ways. Shiurim could be live streamed, recorded forever. Could be watched anywhere in the world. Due to technology such as Ocha Chachma, you could have close to 250,000 svarim at your fingertips, which is an incredible idea. The other day, all these things. The other day, I was in the car with someone, topic came up, and I didn't remember it perfectly. I pulled up my notes on the screen, and he was able to read it. Come on, who would have thought? Unbelievable what you could use it for. If you just use the problem is most people don't use it for the right reasons. But that's another discussion in and of itself. Let's talk about a very relevant shiloh which comes up. Nowadays, there's a lot of people who have these phones that are capable of turning into a siddur. They have the apps, Belech Lecha and other apps, right? Art Scroll, all of these. So now the shiloh becomes, is it permissible to use a phone as a siddur or not? Now, all these apps that have the siddur for sure will tell you what's the shiloh. That's how we have it. But we have to really analyze, is it permissible or not? Well, if the person does it, for sure, the davening counts. Is it preferable, though? Is it preferable? So there's actually a lot of ideas based on this shiloh. We'll discuss some of them right now. Few touches of the finger, your phone turns into a siddur. You have to determine the story. So the person that I saw who talks about this is the Meir-Os. Rabbi Meir Rava in Siman Sadi Vav Siv Beis on page Reish Samach. Rabbi Meir Rava, Chashav Yid from Bnei Brak. This is in Chelek Daled Siv Set. He only has on earlier volumes. That's why we don't do this, because we didn't learn the earlier Simanim together. We do later Simanim together. But he's coming out with more and more. And on page Reish Samach over here in the version I have, he discusses, look, you need to be careful about this Inyan over here. Maker Adin, from the letter of the law, you could use it as a siddur. However, you have to be careful, because in places where it's not the norm to use the phone as a siddur, it's going to disturb others, like we said. Now, according to that reason, in a place where it is the norm to use a phone as a siddur, will be permissible. But there's also another major halacha consideration that needs to be taken into account, which is if it falls. We'll talk about that in a minute. If a siddur falls, it's not the end of the world. The sefer still exists, it's not ruined. But if a $1,000 phone falls, which is what they cost now, if I'm not mistaken, if that thing falls, that's going to be a major damage. That's a hefsed meruba for most people. It's considered a major loss. And therefore, that's going to detract from one's intent, and it will be no worse than what the Shulchan Aruch says, based on what the Gemara and Bracha says. You can't hold certain items that are valuable when you daven shemoneh, because it's going to detract from your kavanah, your intent. Or a knife, you're worried that now you're going to drop it, it's going to hit your foot and hurt you. Same exact idea. So therefore, that's discussing a very important issue. Now, according to this, if you leave your stender, your phone on your stender or a table, or if it has a very good case, they call them, I think, gorilla cases or something. There's a name for them. If it has a very good case, that you know you've tested it before, you threw it 10 feet in the air and it's totally fine, outer box, that's the one, which I wouldn't recommend doing that anyways. But if a person does and they saw that their phone didn't break, so then they wouldn't need to worry about it. If it's on a stender table, or if you have that special case that doesn't work, the outer box thing, so then That's what they talk about. Now, thus, if you daven with other people who use their phones as a siddur, and your phone is placed on a stender or a table, or it has a very good case, you could use it. However, another caveat, you have to worry about the pop-ups that could come, the text messages, the phone calls. That's why you gotta put your phone on the airplane mode. I don't know so much about it, but I think you don't get any texts, you don't get any calls, right? No pop-ups, nothing. So it's gotta be with all of those conditions, and then it could be used. Furthermore, you have to be careful that when you're on your phone, you don't start going to other things on the phone. You just leave it on the siddur. I can't tell you, over the years, I've seen people looking at stocks on the phone during davening. Could you imagine watching highlights for sports? I once saw someone scrolling and looking at the news in the Megillah, in the middle of Megillah waiting. Yeah. Could you imagine such a thing? No.
Got to repeat.
Terrible. The guy doesn't care, obviously. He's half religious, right? But still, it's a terrible thing, and it ruins the atmosphere for everyone else as well. Lastly, on this topic, Hatzala. They talk about Hatzala, the Mishnas Yosef, and many others, that you could leave your phone or walkie-talkie on. However, it should really be one person per shul. You know, I just experienced, I'm not going to say where. You have 5 guys, the walkie-talkie is going off at the same time. I'm not the first person to say this. He's not the first person to say this. Many say this. I'm not even talking about from a perspective of violating Shabbos. That's already something else. What do you need 5 guys in Hatzala in the same exact room? They got to coordinate with each other.
Wait, are they allowed to turn off their phone though? Like, what, they keep it on all of Shabbos, or they turn it off at night? What do they do?
I think they keep it on because at night something could happen. But I'm not even talking about Hilchos Shabbos right now.
No,
We're
I'm
talking
saying
about you don't need 5 guys and 5
you
rings
mean
going
during
off.
the week? During the week, you mean? During the week.
Mishnas Yosef says this.
Who did say Mishnas
Yosef and others.
Rav
Harfenes bring, we'll talk about it. And I've heard this. I heard this from other people also who made this point before. Many make this point. I'm not even talking about from a perspective of Chilul Shabbos. So, anyways, those are some thoughts, condensed ideas regarding phones, in particular, usage in shul and usage in while learning, and some other ideas that come up. And we didn't discuss really the other major issues with phones, which is what tag is involved with and tries to do with the filters and all of that. That's another discussion in and of itself. But yeah, look, technology, like right now, Zoom could be used for good. So anyways, any questions, comments? David?
Yeah. It's all technology is a necessary evil, and you got to just, people have to learn how to. There's definitely even before everything, even before a smartphone.
I showed one of my chavrusas. There was a clip that someone made saying AI could take over the world. Robots, they'll get smarter than humans. That's if you don't believe in the Eibishter. We believe in Hashem. Everything will be taken care of.
There was just an Asifa ad, like for Brooklyn schools, and they had
another thing we talked about.
This is done.
This is the Lehoros Nason, and those papers in particular in the Mishnas Yosef. This is Rabbi Yosef Lieberman. He's a contemporary. He has over here, and really, I also have more PDF files in the Kovitz Beis Halevi. He's quoting the same thing, but if you look at all the underlines that I put over here. You see the, and then you have the second follow-up tshuva. Look at this. He goes. You see this? over here? He goes into this tremendous with proofs from Shas back and forth. I mean, it's amazing how many relevant halachas tie into this.
What was it? What is it? What is this?
Phones, about phones.
Yeah. But
such a big topic.
There's a lot of hashkafically, just not being able, when phones just came out, you think about, not speaking to someone face to face. It's interesting. I'm saying it's interesting. There's a lot of
now you can do the FaceTime and everything.
FaceTime, but you don't know if the person. I saw a wedding invitation